Hello and welcome to the Week 11 Ether Diver Patch Week 2023 Patch Challenge. This week, what you're looking at, this miserable mess, wires climbing up on top of my monitors into the semi-modular. This is Strega. Of course, it's not really Strega, but it's my attempt to patch up something like Strega to help me understand exactly what's going on with it, and just for the fun, that's kind of the challenge of like, hey, can we make our own? How well I did, that's up for you to decide. You heard it on the intro. Is this Strega? That was this patch right here, and you'll have to let me know how close I got. I would say I got in the neighborhood, kind of close. I don't know. I don't believe it would fool the people from Make Noise. It could fool people who don't own the instrument, or maybe even people that do, that just gave it a quick listen. And certainly in the neighborhood, I had all the elements, which we'll go through in a minute. But yeah, it was mostly fun as an academic exercise. And if you wanted to do some Strega-like sound design, we don't actually have a Strega. You could follow along with this patch, or probably some other ones that are on the internet, and get in the neighborhood to get some samples or whatever. But okay, enough jibber jabber, enough introductory pretext here. Let's go ahead and get into the patch. We'll do the audio chain real quick first. It's pretty straightforward. We have the clavis twin waves making a triangle wave. Okay, that goes into the clavis flex shaper here, which we're using as our wave shaper. I'll go into the controls of that in just a second. Okay, we're split out of that. This molt right here is the split out of that. One of those goes to this ting, which is acting as a crossfader. So that's just our wave folded, clean, otherwise clean. So this is the wave folder, the disting in effect is the blend on the very last stage of the Strega. And the other side of it goes then up to the PT 2399 delay. We've got it molted again up here. One side goes directly to the mixer, one side goes into the delay, or one of the molts goes in the mixer, one goes into the delay, and then the output delay goes into the mixer as well. They're mixed together, mostly delay, some dry signal, and then the output of that goes into our filter. I use the SEM filter because it's a pretty mellow filter. It's probably the mellowest filter I have. The carbon, when tuned to very modest settings, is pretty mellow too. But this one's just kind of mellow almost all through its range, especially if I turn the resonance down, which I did. I did experiment with some different settings, and I do think that maybe there's a little resonance in the Strega's filter, but still just a guess. Anyway, goes into that. The output of that, the low pass output of that specifically, then goes into the other side of our crossfader. That's the disting. It's algorithm H1 if you're interested in using it as a crossfader. That goes into right there. Goes into our Talon VCA. Talon goes out to the mixer and then out to the interface from there. That's it for the audio. But yes, very similar to the Stregas. It's got the triangle wave into a wave folder, into delay, into a filter, to the output. You can mix the delayed and undelayed signal. Yeah. So the controls, obviously I did not try a one-to-one recreation of the controls because for one thing, I don't have any touch plates, and for another thing, there's a lot going on in Strega. And when I started making the patch, I thought that I would maybe make most of them, or maybe all with the touch plates. But I gave up because there's a lot going on, and I realized that part of it is it just only sounded okay, and I actually would rather play with the real Strega than try and do this academic exercise. But I kind of felt like I'd taken it far enough. But we'll go into what I actually did here real quick. Okay, so what I did, the things I decided were kind of important, or that I decided to try and recreate in any case, were the subharmonics, the subharmonic generator, because that seems to get routed everywhere. And although I ended up not really using it that much. But again, it's academic exercise. So what I did there is I took the square wave, the sub output of our oscillator that's running the triangle wave, took that into the input of the function. Okay, and then I just turned the rise and fall down like fairly slow on both of those. And yeah, and as you can see, it's flickering there. I believe that's a subharmonic of the thing. It's as simple as that to make that patch. But all I'm using, of course, right here, I had intended to use it more. I got it all set up, and then I went on to the next thing, and yeah, then I hit the wall with the patch and decided to just call it good enough, ready to document and move on. But yeah, I am using the end of channel. As you can see, it's flashing there. This little green wire. Into channel gate to trigger a sample and hold, which you can't even really see, buried in here. It's this Kenk sample and hold. Okay, and this is actually, we're using this to recreate the filter delay output CV circuit. So what I did is I took the bandpass out of the SEM filter, and took that into the input of the sample and hold. Okay, so that's instead of the noise, that's what it's getting. And then the trigger comes from the subharmonic thing. It's basically being triggered rhythmically off of subdivisions of the pitch of the main oscillator. And then so that samples at that rate, and then the pitch of that is used to FM the oscillator. So we got a little feedback loop there, which I know is an important part of the Strega. I'm not sure if it has even that exact feedback loop in it, but I think it does. And yeah, anyway, that's what I ended up using that for. And then the other control thing I built here was to control the wave shaper. This is kind of a complex wave shaper. Ooh, it's not easy to say. As you can see, you can move each of the upper mid, middle, bottom mid, and bottom segments of the wave. You remap them basically. So as the wave passes through that segment, it's remapped to whatever you've directed, either via those little control knobs you see there, or via CV, which is, I wanted to control them not by twisting a bunch of little knobs in different directions, which is interesting, but it's something like the wave folder I had, and even this is way too fancy. I realized I probably should have just used a wave folder, but whatever, instead of this complex wave shaper. But here's the control scheme I set up, and yeah, basically it just gets more folded as you go through here. I know you can't hear that right now because I don't have speakers plugged in. Again, I'm going to put some samples of what this all sounded like. You'll hear me moving a bunch of the controls, hear the wave, moving the wave folder, and opening and closing the filter, things like that. On the little outro, you heard some of it on the intro. That was all this same patch. And yeah, that's where I basically finished that and got it working like I wanted it to, and then realized that I still had several more elements to do. The function generator, which, to be fair, the function generator on it is very similar to this function generator right here on this top of this Lifeforms mod tools here. Sorry about the lighting situation too. My lighting in here is it's mood lighting. It's great for chilling out and recording music, but it's not always great for filming, so I have to put up a bunch of stupid portable lights just so you can see my setup, and it gets a lot of weird shadows. Hopefully it's stylish. I don't know what to tell you. Yeah, and then thinking probably needed to get the matrix mixer involved and really start going ham, and I realized that this, my little 2-hour patch was going to turn into like a 5.5-hour patch, and I decided, you know what? We have demonstrated that it is theoretically possible to do this. Since we're not trying to do it for actual purposes, since we have an actual Strega, we don't need to take it any further, and that's where I stopped. If you have a Strega, or don't have a Strega rather, if you have a bunch of these similar modules or modules you could swap in for these, and really the specific modules on all of these are completely unnecessary. Any filter would work. Any wave shaper / wave folder I think would work. If you're not trying to recreate it directly and just trying to get somewhere in the neighborhood. This is just doing some attenuation up here. I forgot to mention it. You can read the write-up if you're really interested in what exactly is going on there, but it's just attenuating the outputs from the wave shaper controls so that we can get different shapes in different inputs, but symmetrical shapes across the thing. Anyway, doesn't really matter. Like I said, you get all the details in the write-up if you would like to hear them. Yeah, and then that's it for the patch. So we will do some more. Maybe we might do more Strega related stuff. I definitely have at least one more Strega patch that I would like to do, and I did get the actual. I got the rest of the easel. I got the O Coast the other day, and I barely unpacked it, but probably messing with that, doing a patch with that as well before too long. Yeah. In the meantime, you can enjoy this outro. We've got 30 seconds or so of, or 45 seconds of more fake Strega, me working some of the controls. And yeah, if you want to build your own Strega patch, let me know how it went. And until then, I will see you next week.